Go live in sound and vision with pictures on IMSA TV as well. It's a brilliant circuit here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. 2.25 miles, 11 corners. The names rather than the term numbers tell you that this is an old school natural terrain road circuit. Andretti hairpin at turn 2, up the Rahal Straight, the corkscrew on the far side of the circuit, and then back down the hill to turn 11. Hello everybody and welcome along to a lovely day here on the Monterey Peninsula. It's John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre as we are getting ready for the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca 120. Jeremy Shaw is with me in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Let's have a look at the front of the grid, Jeremy.
Yeah, the top 10 positions on the starting grid is James Pezek, a car number 40 for PF Racing, that's a Ford Mustang, alongside Alan Brynjolfsson, the Volt Racing number 7 Aston Martin. Row 4, Alfredo Nadri, number 14 Riley Motorsports Toyota, alongside another Porsche, the McCann Racing number 8 of Michael McCann. Row 3, Manny Franco, car number 12 for Corsa Horizon with MC Squared Aston Martin, alongside the Core Motorsports Ford Mustang, car number 60, Luca Mars, the teenager. Kenny Murillo will start car number 72, the Murillo Racing Mercedes in the 4th place. Ahead of him is the Hugh Plum in car number 46, the Team TGM Porsche. Another Porsche on the front row of the grid. On the outside is Alex Bremer, pole sitter last time out in car number 28 for RS1, but on the pole position is the second pole position. They're stepping into the team this weekend after Jeff Mosing got an injury. We'll talk about that in a little while. In the number 56 Murillo Racing Mercedes, Kenton Cook qualified on a magnificent pole position.
Oh, absolutely superb for Kenton. He's been plying his trade in Europe this year. We've watched his career with interest. We've had him in the booth here in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre down through the years as well. Great to see him back on home ground, and well done to him. The ultimate plug and play. He just jumps into any car and makes it go quicker. Well done to Kenton. Shea Adam is down on the pit lane. Beautiful weather this afternoon, with the time rapidly approaching 4 o'clock Pacific time. That means, it's coming up to 1 o'clock in Europe, 12 o'clock in the UK. Tell me what's going on down the pit lane, Shea. Has everybody got out as they are rolling around for their formation lap?
Pit lane is empty, thankfully. There were a couple of cars that were further down the grid than I had expected, including that 22 that Jeremy was talking about, the hardpoint Porsche. But the cars are coming around now for their first pass by the start-finish line. Now, the pole-sitting car, Jeremy mentioned, it was supposed to be Eric Foss and Jeff Mosing for the entire season. Well, Jeff had an accident. He slipped off the front of his jet boat and hit his chest in just the wrong spot, resulting in another broken rib for Jeff Mosing. So he is now in danger of puncturing a lung and therefore out for this season. His replacement, or substitute I should say, as I said to him a few minutes ago, Kenton Cook. And as the team told me, he was number 1 on their list of people they wanted when they dialed up the phone. Jeff is here. He is spotting for the team. He'll be on the radio for all 3 of the cars. But that 56, that team tends to win championships when Jeff misses a race. So when he texted me last week, he said, well, I guess we're going to win the championship this year.
Jeremy Shaw with more news on the Murillo Racing 56.
Well, did Jeff also mention how he managed to fall off the deck off his boat?
Oh, come on,
He said
you've got to tell the story.
He apparently had a beer in his hand and he slipped, basically. So, which I think is much more colourful. And I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm sure you don't mind. He's got a great sense of humour. We do wish you well, though, and get back in the car, because he's a doughty campaigner, is Jeff Mosing, and he's certainly been missed this weekend. But Kenton Cook doing a marvellous job there in the standing to put that car on the pole position. Pretty impressive.
I've had broken ribs before. It's painful just standing up or sitting down. I can't imagine being in a race car. And when somebody tells you there's a danger of doing internal damage, then Jeff's done exactly the right thing. Kenton Cook who has deputised very well for that Murillo Racing team. Alex Premat for RS1 on the outside of the front row, then Hugh Plum for Team TGM and Murillo Racing, Kenny Murillo, making it 2 of the metallic copper cars in the top 4. In TCR, Harry Gottsacker for Brian Herter will take pole position ahead of Chris Miller for Unitronics in the Audi, and Roy Block for the KMW Motorsport Alpha team for Rory van der Steur, who is alongside him in TCR. Those are your lead contenders. We've got 2 hours on the clock. Fasten your seatbelts, take a deep breath, try and settle back if you can. Here we go for 2 hours of racing. Green flag is being waved, and Murillo Racing's Kenton Cook tries to get down the inside. It's a good start from the Porsche from RS1. Oh, Kenton's gone a bit wide, and through goes Alex Premat, but Kenton fights back. A little bit of dirt thrown up on the exit of the Andretti hairpin down there at turns 1 and 2. Hugh Plum for Team TGM right in there behind. That was a properly good start. Everybody really diving in to the first braking area. And now they head up to turn number 5 before they start climbing the hill. And Kenton Cook somehow has held the lead for the GT4 AMG Murillo Racing number 56. The metallic copper machine with maybe 4 or 5 cars lengths there, a bit more as he goes through turn 6 and already off. Oh dear, that's a shame. That is the 09 Stoner Car Care automatic racing car. Rahman Abdul Vahabi has gone off in the early part of the lap. That looked to me as though it was the inside of turn number 5 that he was off. We'll check that for you in a moment, but he is moving and he's back on the asphalt as well. Coming through Team GMG Racing, Kyle Washington right in the mix of it there with Rebel Rock Racing and Frank Depew, the Camaro right in it as well. So we try and pick our way through what happened further back down through the racing. I've spun to the inside of the corner at, actually I think that was the first corner for the 09. But that car is moving again for Rahman Abdul Vahabi. Has dropped a couple of 3 places. Chris Miller has got up to 25th position in the league TCRs. He's passed 3 GS cars, but at the front of the field, Kenton Cook, despite a little bit of a foobar at the first corner, Jeremy, he's done what he has to do. He's kept the lead, and he's got 3/4 of a second in hand here. That's a job done, I would say, for the man, for the young man.
Very impressive. I mean, good respect there showed by all of those top 3 cars. They could have easily have it could have gone ugly down there at Marandretti hairpin, because that was a good strong challenge by Alex Premat around the outside line, but Kenton held him off and held on to that position. But look, the one thing that Kenton doesn't know much about is looking after the tyres in this sort of a car here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. He's only got a few laps in the car this weekend, so he hasn't driven it previously, I don't think. So he's got to be mindful not to take too much out of these tyres in the early stages of the race.
Jeremy, as far as the pit stop strategy is concerned, TCRs is the easy one. This should, even here with a lot of full throttle racing, be able to get to the end of the race in 1 hour and 57 minutes with 1 pit stop. What about the GSs here?
Yeah, the GS, there'll be 2 pit stops. Unless there's a lot of yellow, there'll be 2 pit stops for GS. And the minimum drive time here for this weekend for the Michelin Pilot Challenge is, as usual, 40 minutes. Is the each driver, there's 2 drivers in each of the cars, they both have to do a minimum of 40 minutes during this 120-minute race.
Across the start-finish line for the back end of the field. Great to see so many TCR cars here again, by the way, and judging by how many cars are parked up on the hillside, there's a decent crowd here today. Easy to get a decent crowd lost around WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. A lot of people will wander up to the top of the hill and watching the corkscrew. Some people will sit in the grandstands as well. But it's Ken Cock that leads by now 1.2 seconds from Alex Premat in the RS1 Porsche in second. Hugh Plum for Team TGM also in the 718 Cayman Club Sport. And Kenny Murillo, the second of the Murillo Racing team, so still first and fourth for those two Murillo Racing team. In TCR, Chris Miller in the Liquid Moly, yellow and black with white on it, Unitronic. Audi leading the way from Harry Gottsacker and Brian Herter, one of, as Jeremy said, several of the Brian Herter Autosport Hyundais. And of course it is the Hyundai Sports Car Weekend here. It's a really good run by Chris Miller in that Unitronic Audi. They've got the original version of that car. There is an Evo version out now that has different bodywork, and I've had a good crawl around a couple of them and they look fantastic, and the engineering on them is great. Early pit stop for the number 64 coming into the pit lane. Now, is that a drive-through? Yes, it is. Changing lanes at the start for Team TGM. Oh, that's a mistake, an uncharacteristic mistake for the number 64 Team TGM Porsche.
And that is the championship leader, John, coming into this weekend after the brilliant second place finish for Ted Giovanni, Snow and Trinkler at Daytona, and then a strong run to 7th place last time out at Sebring. They come into the lead into this race with the championship leader tied on points with Alan Brynjolfsson and Trent Hinman. Also have had a first and a 7th in the first two races, because they got the second place before in round 1 rather than round 2. They will be the joint championship leader then, and that'll be very, very costly for that number 64 team, John.
Well, basically the fight back starts now, doesn't it? I mean, that's the way you've got to talk about that for Ted and Owen. And the problem will be if they drop off the lead lap with that drive-through. It's not a massively long lap here, around about 90 seconds, a little bit over at the front of the field, and already traffic starting to become an issue for some of the cars as they fight their way through. Just looking down through the field, it's been a pretty steady start by everybody, exactly what we're hoping to see. Weather is perfect, and we're barely 9 minutes into a 2-hour contest here. Thanks for joining us on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. Good to have your company. Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre is Jeremy Shaw, me, John Hindhaugh, Shea Adam, down in the pit lane. So 1.4 seconds between Kenton Cook now and Alex Premat as they're fighting their way around this circuit. And it really is a fight. This is a physical track. It's very high speed, a lot of G-force, and not a lot of grip on the tyres. It's the usual bun fight behind Chris Miller, Harry Gottsacker, then it's Brian Herter's number 2 car, that's the Musk car, then the Van der Steur car, Michael Johnson in 5th place, and then the number 99 TCR right in there as well. They're all battling. That's the Victor Gonzalez Racing, and it is Victor before he hands over to Carl Whitmer, the Montreal native. And they are all line astern from 2nd down to 6th in TCR. Fabulous battle there. But I've got to say, Chris Miller has done a great job at the sharp end of the TCR field, and he's got himself up to 25th and pulled out a little bit from that battle behind him, Jeremy.
Yeah, and he's got his way through some of the GS cars that are not so quick in the early stages of this race. So he's able to make several moves in the early part. He made up 4 positions on the opening lap, and that got himself a little bit of a gap, which he's going to do his very best to maintain over the pole sitter Harry Gottsacker, and then already a huge gap back to AJ Muss, who's running in 3rd position in car number 2. So a good start for AJ, the snowboarder. ahead of Rory van der Steur and Michael Johnson, who's right in the thick of it, along with Victor Gonzalez, Taylor Hagler, and most of the rest of the TCR field.
Yeah, exactly so. Exactly so. Down through the corkscrew for the Little Molly JDC Unitronic Audi. As I say, there's a new car out with a lot of trig engineering on the next generation of that chassis. It's also used for the Golf GTI and for the Cupra Leon. And it was the Leon that I was having a look at, though. Had a long chat with Rob Huff, who debuted the Audi version at Dubai in January. It's just nice little things like the rear roll bars actually run through the car, and you can look at them, you can see them through the back window, and if you need to tweak them, you can do that whilst you're changing tyres, and you can even change them with just a quick flick of the catch. Pull one roll bar out and push another one in, and because they're now going through the car, they don't have to go round anything, so they are just a straight anti-roll bars. Really very clever engineering by the guys at Seat Sport, who build all of the TCR cars for the Volkswagen AG group. Good battle going on in TCR as ever, with the Alpha resplendent in its black and gold colours. The Giulietta, little hatchback. Oh, it's a great looking car, and as Jeremy said during the grid rundown, it is one of the fan favourites because it looks different. It's still got the very distinctive Alpha shield grille on it, and when it's parked in a car park, you're not going to confuse it with another manufacturer, let's put it that way. Ran one as a daily a couple or so years ago. Thoroughly enjoyed driving it wherever we went. There is just something particularly Italian and particularly sporty about Alphas, and this little TCR has done very well. A bit wide going out of the final corner there. Now, a moment or two ago, coming out of the Andretti hairpin, there was contact between two BMWs. The Turner Motorsport car pushed onto the dirt there, and that was right in front of Chris Miller. That was Vin Barletta that was on the
Sean
dirt.
Quinlan.
Yeah,
and
Sean
Quinlan getting together, yeah.
Puncture for the number 18 TCR car, which is in the pit lane. It's the right front for CB Motorsports, and they're just changing, I think, the one tyre on that car, and I think it was Caleb, wasn't it, that started that car? No, it wasn't, it was Kyle. It was Kyle Rain. Was it Kyle Rain or was it Caleb?
Yes,
it was Kyle, thank you.
Yes.
Had to look twice there. So, contact or running over the edge of the curbs here. Interesting. We're still green, Jeremy, and at the front of the field, Kent will kill me if I put the curse on him, but he's actually doing a really good job. 1.6 seconds ahead in that number 56 metallic copper AMG GT4, and he looks to me as if he's controlling the race at the moment. Early stages, I know.
Yeah, look how far they pulled away from the third, fourth and fifth place battle there, with Hugh Plum holding on ahead of Kendra Cook's teammate Kenny Murillo, and Luca Mars hanging in there as well in the number 60 Ford Mustang. Luca, of course, 16 years of age. He was too young to take part in the first race of the season at Daytona, but he did take part at Sebring, and boy did we know it, because he ran up the front, qualified on the front row, and led the race until he came in for the pit stop, and unfortunately that didn't go so well. He forgot where the pit stop, where the pit stall was, overshot it a bit and costing himself and his teammate a lot of time. But lesson learned there for the youngster, and he's got a good attitude about it, and he's fast.
Change for third place while Jeremy was talking there, with the Murillo 72 and Kenny Murillo going by Hugh Plum. Pretty forceful move as well, but nicely done. And the metallic copper car with a bit more blue on that car rather than its team car, has just eased ahead. They go down to the Andretti hairpin now, and sitting in behind them is Luca Mars, who honed his skills in the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Championship, driving a Mustang for Core Motorsport at the moment. And he's got his eye now firmly set, I think, on 4th position, as Hugh Plum didn't fight too hard when the Murillo Racing AMG went through. The AMG products thought to be one of, if not the most comfortable to drive and to drive consistently. Let's head back down into TCR, take a look at some of the battles behind Chris Miller in the Unitronic Audi that leads the JDC car, and behind them is Rory van der Steur in the very distinctively coloured, mostly white Hyundai Veloster. And they've had a bit of contact on the left side. There's a bit of bodywork at the front just flapping away. The side stripes down the side of that car with the 2-tone blue, 3-tone blue and red remind me very much of the old Peugeot sport colours in rallying, if I'm honest. Behind him, he's got Victor Gonzalez. He's trying to chase him down. Goes a little bit wide there. A little bit further back again, KMW with the Alpha is also under pressure from another Hyundai. Hyundai have really got their act together with a variety of body shapes, all basically on the same platform and using the same engine. And Brian Herter Motorsport have helped Hyundai to develop these cars, Jeremy, and whether it's Veloster or Elantra, or we've seen i20s, of course, in i30s rather in Europe. But these cars are clearly very competitive indeed.
Yeah, they are, and there's some super battling in there, and there has been some supply chain issues, as we talked about. Number 77 car was a Hyundai to start the season, and a great start by that team. They had 2 pole positions, one for each driver. The number 77 car, Mason Philippi and Tyler Maxson, but unfortunately their car was involved in a big wreck at Sebring, and because of the fact that there was not a new car available to get over here, shipped over here in time, they're running one of the older cars this weekend. But there's lots of Hyundais around, and of course this is the Hyundai Grand Prix of Monterey this weekend, so they're putting a lot into the sport and getting a lot out of it as well, I believe.
Well, I've got to say that their road car product is absolutely superb. And the N brand, this is what all of the sports racing cars are, the N brand. That is their version of AMG or M or Quattro for the big German manufacturers. That's their performance brand with that distinctive eggshell blue colour for the road cars, which you'll see more and more. The opportunity to take the i30 fastback, which is not dissimilar to the Elantra, not the same. It's not dissimilar to Spa a couple of years ago now, actually, when we were still allowed to travel. And it's like a little rally car for the road. Superb piece of engineering, and Hyundai really pushing hard with their engineering prowess and proving that on the track to try and change people's attitude. I think the Korean manufacturer, part of the Hyundai Kia Genesis group. Genesis just being launched across Europe at the moment with their new EV, full battery powered car, out in Germany at the moment, this week in fact. The major European auto journals are there. Oops from Jeremy Shaw for a Supra, and that is the Riley Motorsport number 21 car that is hard into the barriers, and I think that might bring out the safety car, and that's Anton Diaz Pereira, the Tennessee resident, who who has gone into the tyre wall, and that is turn 6, I think, Jeremy. Looks like a flat front tyre, some damage to the front as well on the right hand side. We've stayed green at the moment. There's a lot of room out there. Full course yellow, and just getting into the pits before that was called was the Liquid Moly Unitronic leader in the TCR crash, and in fact we have not seen that yet on the timing screen. So at the moment we are still green, but we have got cars coming into the pit. Shea Adam.
Across from the teams on the pit lane to signify that the pits were closed and we were going to full course caution, and they have since turned back off. We've also had Gavin Ernstone into the pits. Fuel only for both of these Audis, and a nice big burnout for the 17 as Chris Miller goes back out onto the circuit, still waiting for Gavin Ernstone to complete service. But everyone thought they were going to go to full course yellow because those lights came on. They are back off, and now they're back on.
And the fuel hose went in and out and in again. We are going full course yellow with just about 20 minutes having been completed. Thank you, Shea. The Supra's not coming out of there, the Riley Supra. There's some, as Nick Damon would say, some scuffage to the right-hand side of that car. The GR Supra GT4. There's another car that's just been launched in the UK, under £30,000 for a straight 6 manual Supra GR. Got to be the performance bargain of the decade, surely. So this will bring out the safety car. Didn't seem to be anybody else involved at turn 6 for Anton when he went off, and he just understeered off and onto the dirt there. Couldn't get the car to turn. Banged up against the tyre stacks on the right hand side. Already the AMR safety team there, that's excellent work. Early for a stop, Jeremy, but the 2 Audis that got in before this was called, that will extend their fuel window and give them some strategic options at least.
Stop when they come in for full service a little bit later in the race. But for the race leader, in TCR, a bit of a gamble there, I would say, for that number 17 team. But it's way too early to make a driver change. We're only halfway through the minimum drive time at this stage. And yeah, Anton Diaz-Pereira, he's originally from Sri Lanka. He's a vascular surgeon based in Tennessee. He was involved in quite a scrap there in the middle of the pack. He'd just been overtaken by Matt Travis, who's done a really nice job in that NOLA Sport Porsche car number 47, working his way up from the back of the pack to now halfway through it in 14th place. Anton was dicey also. I think in that part of that mix was Gary Ferrara in the Mercedes of Capstone Motorsports number 11. But I didn't seem to be any damage there. But Anton just had a heavy crash, and that's the end of that car for the day. That's the team that won the final race of last season with Scott Andrews at the helm. It looks like Scott's not going to get a chance to perform more miracles later on this evening.
Yeah, just coming around to, well, a little before, well, just after 20 minutes past 4. I was going to say a little before 4:30, but that car has been pulled quite a way actually from where it hit the barriers. So just a bit of scuffage on the right hand side. Not sure there's any steering damage there, but I'm not sure Anton can drive it out either. Pass around is about to get underway, and we have got a recovery vehicle coming down onto the gravel area at the driver's right hand side of turn 6 to try and clear up this Supra. So the full course yellow is out, which means no overtaking. Everybody gets back behind the safety car. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us. An hour and 36 minutes still to go here, and of course we will be nominating our Michelin Moment of the race in both GS, the GT4 category, and the TCRs. Well, it's an odd one for the 21 Toyota. The Riley car digging itself in as Anton tried to push himself out, but it's just going to dig itself down. He's fine, he's been led away by the AMR safety crew, and thanks to them and all of our volunteer marshals this weekend. Anyone, well, they've got to take, surely they've got to take advantage of this down on pit lane.
I got a lot of people standing up on the wall for sure, but the interesting thing is who's not up on the wall right now. The Volt Racing crew, they're chilling. They're not getting up on the wall. We've got one of the Murillo Racing crews that is prepared to see a car, but of course they have 3 vehicles out on the track, so it could be any one of their 3. My guess would be the 65 Murillo, which is a little bit further down than the 2 sister cars, but definitely coming in. Turner with both of their cars, they're up on the wall. Carbon with their Porsche, they're up on the wall, and Tyler McQuarrie was super quick in practice yesterday. Who else have we got worth of note? Michelin Racing with their Porsche, they're going to make a pit stop here too. And it's just interesting that a lot of people choosing this opportunity, and some of the interesting players choosing not.
Keep an eye on that down the pit lane with Shays. The recovery goes on. When they pass around, once that is completed, we can open the pit lane. That's really good work on the recovery by the team down there at turn 6. The Supra's already fastened on to the back of the rollback, the flatbed. There's a little bit of remedial work that needs to be done to the tyres on driver's right. I'm going to say thank you to our technical team on site at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for hooking us up to the PA system. Also, of course, our camera operators that allow us to see all the way around the circuit from NASCAR Productions, thank you. And indeed, the whole team up in Charlotte, North Carolina, who put the world feed to air. And on the radio side, the audio side, it's Kez Cobb tonight, Kerry Cobb, over in London, up in London, who is making sure we talk to the world. And it's a late night for Kerry tonight. Already midnight in the UK, on a bank holiday weekend in the UK. So nobody has to go to work on Sunday, which means you can stay up late on Sunday night to watch the IMSA WeatherTech race. Little bit of a tap there from Premat on Kenton Cook as they came into the pit lane. Sure, Adam, you've got the GS pit stoppers.
Oh, it was a love tap, and I was wrong. It's actually 2 of the Murillo Race Mercedes coming in, but yes, Kenton is in. They are doing scrubbed rubber for Kenton, fuel only for Alexander Prema, and let's see, it is new tires for the Michelin Racing Porsche. We've got both of the Core Motorsports Mustangs in. Looks like new tires on the 59, fuel only on the 60, so Luke Omar's not getting new tires. We've also got, there we go, Prema's back out rolling. He's going to inherit the lead of all the cars that come in to make a stop. The 95 Turner Motorsport BMW is away and rolling. That was a tire change for Dylan McIver. Looked like the front tires only on that one. We still have the 96 in the box. That's Vin Barletta, fuel and tires for that car as well. And waiting on the 65 to complete its pit box. So at least I got one of the 3 Murillo Racing cars correct, but that one is fuel only as well.
Cars already heading out. A huge amount of rubber pickup. Little fragments of rubber that's been torn off the racing tyres already on the pit out, so that's going to cause a little bit of problem, although in fairness they're coming out with cold tyres, so maybe not so much of a problem. The sad sight of the number 21 Riley Toyota Supra, the GR Toyota Supra, heading back to the back of the paddock area. So this is going to be good news, Jeremy, if the TCR stop. What do you do then? If you're Harry Godsacker and Brian Hertner and the Van der Steur Racing, do you pit in TCR and allow Chris Miller to go back to the front of the field? Or do you stay out and make him pass everybody else? That's the question.
Yeah, track position is important here, but tyres are important as well. I'd say it depends on how your tyre wear, how you perceive your tyre wear to be at this stage, because if they come in and make a pit stop now and give up the track position, depends how many cars come in here. It's a bit of a gamble if you're the leader, like Kenton Cook was. That's a big gamble. If not many cars come in, then you're probably not going to be in particularly good shape. But if lots of them come in, then it's a different kettle of fish. And of course, when they do come in for the driver service, for the full service, including driver change in 15 minutes or so's time, then they will need less fuel to put aboard.
Good point.
If they've already put on fresh tyres now, then they're kind of good to go. So it'll be a much faster pit stop at that stage in the game.
Before I go down to Shane and tell us who's in, I'll tell you who stayed out. Victor Gonzalez in the number 99 stayed out. Chris Miller's gone around, but pretty much everybody else here in the TCR field has come into the pit lane.
And everybody has taken new front tires. That's the sound of the Alpha roaring back into life with stickers on that car. Michael Johnson and Robbie Wickens, the next two pit boxes up. But the first car back out and rolling is the Alpha. And the 98 Hyundai, that's the one with the Texas flag on the Fort Bears, because both of their drivers hail from that proud state. They were second out in line, so they came into the pits in the lead, left in second. Now, this is bad news for the two Audis that are still out there that came in just before the caution, because both Gavin Ernstone and Chris Miller did not take new front tires during that stop. Indeed, they're still on the rubber that they qualified on this morning.
Yeah, and there will be a split, won't there, to bring all the GSs. I mean, Chris Miller and Victor Gonzalez are up to a 13th and 11th position. The huge amount of GS cars between themselves and the rest of TCRs, well, that will disappear once we reset the field before we go racing again. Just waiting to see where Gavin Ernstone comes out. Surely he should be in third position. See when they go across the second of the split times on the circuit, which the leaders are doing now. There goes Victor Gonzalez, and the number 99. Now the rest of the GS field going through. So will it be Van der Steur or Road Shagger Racing that goes through in what would be third position? Yeah, it is. Gavin Ernstone has gone through in third, but as Shane mentioned, they are on the tyres on which they qualified. Now there's still an hour and a half left here, so we're not at all, for the TCR cars or the GS cars, Jeremy, anywhere near getting a second pit stop in. They're going to run another, 50 minutes, 45, 50 minutes for the GS, and about another hour, I suppose they could run if they want to, for the TCR cars.
Yeah, so pretty much all of the TCR cars now have all made one pit stop, except for the number 99 car. That's the only car that has not yet been on to the pit lane in TCR. They will be able to make it on one pit stop. Everybody else will have to make a stop as well. But of course, the other guys, when they come in, they are going to need a little bit less fuel than will the number 99 car. So, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I think Victor Gonzalez, has they've done a really nice job this season. They won last time out. He and the youngest of the Whitmer brothers, Carl, won at Sebring last time out. So they've got a fast car, they know it, and Carl is a very, very quick driver. So they're gambling on having a track position now, and knowing that everybody else is going to have to pit at one stage at least before the end of this race.
That's what we were talking about earlier on, Jeremy, isn't it? We like the fact that strategy has to play out here. It is a sprint race. It's only 2 hours, but because of the minimum drive time and the way that IMSA control how much fuel can go into the cars, there is an element of having to actually think from the pit wall about, hang on, what do we do here? And the Victor Gonzalez racing team have thought, you know what, we're going to roll the dice here. We're going to stay out. We'll make up a few positions. It's not hurting us. We're still going to make one pit stop, but so is everybody else. We'll see how the cards fall. If there's another yellow in the next half an hour or so, happy days.
Indeed so, absolutely right. You nothing ventured, nothing gained, really. The one car that is the caution, of course, did not help is number 64 team, because Ted Giovannis had to serve that drive-through penalty early on, was lapped by the race leader after that, and was he able to get his lap back?
Well,
maybe he was.
Yeah,
so he was, because all those leaders came in, or quite a few leaders came in. I guess he was able to get that lap back. So that's a stroke of good fortune for the number 64 team. Wow.
I'm not sure. He. Let me see where he is at the moment. He's still behind most.
I wouldn't have thought he did, but
yeah, he's still behind most of the TCR. That big phalanx of TCR cars, and he's showing a lap down at the moment.
Yeah,
but
fine.
I'm going to work out where
yeah.
he is.
I think that's right. I think he is still a lap down. Yeah, I just got confused by looking at the scoring there, which didn't really make sense. So yeah, no, there he is. He is right behind. I think the race leader, two team TGM cars are together on the racetrack behind, I think, the race leader. So yeah, he is a lap down.
Okay.
As I was, or as you were, whichever.
So waiting to see how we reorder the field. Note about the unusually triple-digit car. That's Sheena Monk and Kyle Marcelli for the J&G Wentworth Racing by PF Racing Ford Mustang. Sheena and Kyle, not used to seeing them in that Mustang. Good to have them here. Shay Adam could add to that, Shay.
Well, remember, a couple years ago, Kyle Marcelli and Nate Stacey were champions for Core Motorsports in a Mustang. So for Kyle Marcelli to be behind the wheel of the prancing horse again, that's a good move.
That's fair enough. Safety car has moved away. Kenny Murillo, excuse me, in the 72 Murillo racing car will have to restart with Team GGM and Hugh Plum right up his tailpipes. Then it's James Pesic, Anna Brynjolfsson, then Sheena Monk. Oh, good move round the outside by the number 40, and that is James Pesic. So he goes up into third position. Hugh Plum not disputing positions here. Brynjolfsson's gone through as well. Here comes the 877 as well of Sheena Monk. Then the absolute number 69 car right in there. So it looks like Hugh Plum didn't get off the line very quickly. The purple and white Porsche going down as well for Capstone Racing. But another good restart from the front of the field. Almost a full second in hand by Murillo Racing and Kenny Murillo. Good restart there. That's Ted Giovannis now in that car, isn't it? That's the lapped car. My apologies. Oh, spin for the 877, I think. Yes, it is. That is Sheena Monk at the top of the corkscrew. Now she's in the gravel at the moment, looking for a forward gear. I think she might be able to get out of there. Has to wait for the rest of the field to go through. Yeah, Jeremy, my apologies there. That was the other TGM car with Ted Giovannis, and that's why it was being passed. Ted Giovannis not able to stay on the lead lap as we discussed before we went green.
Correct.
Sheena.
She has not got that car going, has she?
Well, it fired and she's got a little bit. Yes, she's got the motor running. The V8 is running and she manages to get it back on the track. Nicely done without high centering the car. So we stay green and Sheena Monk is back in the fight. but it did get a push.
Yeah,
Absolutely got a push from the Porsche, Jeremy.
Yeah, that was Anderson Tenoto there, the absolute Porsche that just rammed into the side of her at the turning point to the corkscrew, just carrying way too much speed. Absolutely nothing that Sheena Monk could do about that, and she is a big loser. The good news is she is still on the lead lap, but a long way back behind the rest of the pack now. So she's going to have to real pedal hard and hope really that there's another full course caution before it is time to make her pit stop.
That's Jeremy Shaw. He's with me, John Hindhaugh, in the Hackney Global Broadcast Centre. And another problem, caution speed, cautions, we always say. The 93 Carbon Porsche facing the wrong direction for a moment for Samir Gandhi from San Francisco. That car now back on the race surface and carrying on. Battles going on absolutely everywhere down this field. The top 24 are all GS cars and they're all line astern. It's Victor Gonzalez from Chris Miller to the 99 from the 19 are your two leaders in the TCR category. Remember and as I say that, Van der Stur's just gone through on Chris Miller. So Van der Stur, who made his stop after Chris Miller, has gone through and is now up to second in TCR. 40 minutes have elapsed, 40 minutes and 30 seconds actually. So that means the pit window is now open for drivers who started the race. They have completed their mandatory 40-minute stint to make them legal. And of course that counts for, we'll have to add on any pit time to that, but we're getting close to it. So Victor Gonzalez for sure, he's not been in the pit lane. Roman Abdul Vardy as well has not been in. They've not stopped. So any car that hasn't been in the pit lane, their drive time has been completed now. Tell you what, Jeremy, this is a bit frantic out there, isn't it?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of cars sort of shuffling around here because all the TCRs had to go back behind the GS cars for the restart, and at this stage in the race in particular, there's quite a few of the GS cars who are not as fast as the TCRs. So there's a lot of sort of reshuffling of positions in the sort of the middle of the field, but the back of the pack in GS and therefore the front in TCR.
Shea Adam has news of penalties and pit callers.
Well, I just thought that the first car coming into the pits was going to be the Absolute Racing Porsche, but no, that was a drive-through penalty for incident responsibility with Sheena Monk and the PF Racing Mustang. But we do have real pit callers, and Frank Depew, the first car to come into the pits and actually make his stop is the Rebel Rock Racing Camaro. It is now Robin Liddell into the end with 4 new sticker Michelins. We do have Ramin Abdul-Wahabi into the pit lane, and the Aston Martin for for automatic racing. That is 4 new tires, and Rob Eklund in there. That was the sound of the 96 Turner Motorsport BMW, the one with the yellow hood. That is a driver change. It is now Robbie Foley in for Vin Barletta and 4 new tires. Also into the pits, the 64 Team TGM co-championship leaders. Hugh Plum is still out on the track. That was Owen Trinkler going out to join his 2018 co-champion in the GS category, because now he has taken over for Ted Giovannis. And still in the pits, we've got the Carbon with Paragon Racing Porsche. That is a driver change from Samir Gandhi over to Tyler McCrory, and that will be Tyler into the end of the race as well.
Good work by Shea Adam, keeping us abreast of what's going on down in the pit lane. Hugh Plum into second place. So Murillo Racing from Team TGM. Then Bolt Racing for the Aston Martin, the bright yellow car. Then James Pesek for PF Racing.
Whoops. And that was Victor Gonzalez exiting stage right there at the top of the corkscrew, so giving up the lead then in TCR. Mistake for Victor. He just carried too much speed into the corner from Puerto Rico. He came from Puerto Rico, it looks like, going to the corkscrew, because it was a long way away and in way too deep, and that puts Rory Van der Stur now into the lead in TCR, and at number 19, Van der Stur Racing, Hyundai Veloster.
And he's got got a lot of pace at the moment, Jeremy. Because he's got a couple of cars between himself and Chris Miller, who stopped a little bit earlier in that Unitronic number 17.
Indeed so. Victor was able to resume, I think, in third position, just ahead of Roy Block and Harry Gottsacker, the pole sitter. All of those cars have made pit stops, and then Robbie Wickens now up into sixth place in TCR, having started at the back of the pack after having problems with his the hand control brake system on that car during qualifying, so did not turn a lap during that qualifying period earlier this morning. Sorts of dices down the field. Kenton Cook, having made that pit stop, is now in the 8th position. He is... How many cars didn't make a pit stop? There were 7 or 8 cars that did not stop during that caution period.
So, just looking at the times, and I'm going to ask Shea Adam about this, because she's normally our arbiter. Now she's down in pit lane at the moment, so not necessarily keeping absolute times, but I count 2 pit stops for Robbie Foley's Turner Motorsport number 96. He's taken off from Vin Barletta, and that means they're going to be tight on drive time for Vin, doesn't it? Because he got out just after the 40 minutes, and your pit lane time doesn't count.
Correct, and they did come down the pit lane with the sister car when everybody came in for GS under the pit stops under the caution. So yeah, by my maths, which I'll admit I'm never very good at maths, by my math they're a bit short on their drive time. I'll go down and check with the team and double check.
Makes sense, thank you, Shea. Shea Adam down in the pit lane. It's Jeremy, Sean, me, John Hindhoff in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Well, we've had plenty of action already, and still an hour and 14 minutes to go in this what started as a 2-hour contest, 120 minutes here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Good consistent laps by the race leader Kenny Murillo here, and he's pulling away from the second place guy. Alan Brynjolfsson just found a way past Hugh Plum, so call that the Volts Racing Aston Martin now up into second position ahead of the Team TGM Porsche of Hugh Plum. I think Brynjolfsson was one of the ones to take on fresh tyres during that stop, but the race leader now, Kenny Murillo, 5 seconds clear at the front of the field.
Unitronics Audi being passed by the Alpha. Can the Alpha get it stopped, or will the Audi pull back the inside? It's the latter, but they're side by side again, and they're battling for second and third in TCR at the moment. Chris Miller in the Unitronics Audi, the 17, and Roy Block in the number 5, dark coloured Alpha, the gold writing on the side. Through turn 4 now, heading up towards turn 5. Great to see the variety. And down the inside, Roy Block that was a cheeky little look down the inside. Little late move, and they'll be side by side heading out of turn 5. Up under the drive over bridge. Oh, great move by Roy Block. Just drifts the Alpha into turn 6. That is a thing of beauty, seeing a front wheel drive car flat drifting, 4-wheel drifting into corners. And there's a Honda in there as well, as Victor Gonzalez is trying to fight back on Chris Miller. The red, white and black VGR Victor Gonzalez racing car ahead of a triumvirate of eggshell blue Hyundai ends sitting right in behind him. Great TCR racing, and Roy must really be enjoying himself in that Alpha, because that was very confident indeed, Jeremy.
It was, wasn't it? A really good move there by Roy Block, and it's a super battle here for what is now second position in TCR. Rory van der Steur making his escape at the front, but Chris Miller, Roy Block, Victor Gonzalez is in there, Robbie Wickens, Harry Gottsacker, a whole slew of Brian Herder cars. Gonzalez, Wickens, Gottsacker, Muss and Taylor Hagler all thrashing away there. But meantime, Kenny Murillo just running way out front. The guy who's on the move is Kenton Cook, the pole sitter who took the restart in 15th place.
Another spin by Gonzalez, Jeremy. Sorry. sorry about that. Another spin by Gonzalez, turn 3. Now, was he held there? That was the rear end that got away from Victor. And he's managed to get the front wheels to pull him out of the gravel trap on driver's left at turn 3. And we'll need to just review that. As Jeremy mentioned, he was right ahead of a whole slew of Hyundais. He was fine going through the final corner, got a little bit of a nudge, but then again he was pushing. But coming into turn number 3, I think, yeah, side-by-side contact with the 33, Robbie Wickens. Wickens wasn't alongside there. I fear that the 33 car may be getting called for that one. That'll be getting looked at.
Yeah, you might be right. I think Wickens was clearly faster at that stage.
Oh, yeah.
He'd seen the Honda making some mistakes, but I think he got a little bit too enthusiastic there. But what I was talking about was Kent Rikuku, who's absolutely charging through the pack. Took the restart in 15th place. He's now made up another position on this lap at the expense of James Pezek, and number 56 car now into 5th position.
The 69 GS car trying to go around the outside of TCR's at turn 11 and has gone off. That is therefore an issue for race control. It's the Absolute Racing Porsche, and that car, a little bit of a brake fire on the right front, that'll just be a bit of rubber taping. And already the GS cars coming in, Volt have come in, Team TGM have come in, Murillo has stayed out, Kenny Murillo stayed out, Turner Motorsport in as well, and also the Nola Sport GS car coming in. We're still green at the moment. Track limits warning for Roy Block in the Alpha. I can hear Shea Adam must be close to somebody doing pit stops at the moment, because I can hear the wheel guns going, Shea.
That would be Volt Racing with the bright yellow Aston Martin. Trent Hinman is installed in that car. Very good day so far for Volt Racing, especially considering that they are in this championship fight for the GS points. It was a couple of years ago that they finished second, and now the car drops off the air jacks and gets rolling once again. The Turner Motorsport BMW is now off the air jacks, and Bill Oberlin is sent on his merry way. We've got the Team TGM Porsche in. That was plum to plum. It was Hugh to Matt taking over. You mentioned the Nola Sport Porsche. That will be Matt Travis getting out. Jason Hart taking over. Jason, whose name is now on an entry list for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Very exciting news for him. We've got Roadshagger Racing and JDC Miller with their Audis into the pit lane, and this time it is a driver change. John Morley taking over and getting new tires for the Roadshagger Racing, and it is Mikey Taylor taking over for JDC. The number 1 Hyundai also into the pits. That is Taylor Hagler's day done. Michael Lewis, miracle worker, is about to get in that car. Champion twice in this series as the full course caution is out. We also had the Forbush Racing Toyota in the pit lane. That is now Tom Long behind the wheel there. Luke Grumberg getting out. And who else did I just see? Oh yes, one of the Murillo Racing cars made it in. It was the 65 again. So their second stop. It is Tim Probert and Brent Mosing sharing that car. 4 new tires on it. The door closes and away goes the Mercedes.
Do not understand why particularly the cars like PF Racing and Murillo's leading 72 car didn't take the opportunity to come in there. Neither of those cars have stopped at all yet. Hardpoint, the 22 car, Nick Galante behind the wheel of that. That car hasn't stopped. The Capstone number 11 car hasn't stopped either for Gary Ferreira in the Mercedes. It was obvious that that Porsche was not coming out the turn 11 gravel. And I just don't get that. It might play out for them. Oh, they got a big punt, actually, in turn 11. And that's going to, I think, result in a penalty as well. Just trying to work out who that was who turned them around. No pass around, race control is saying. But the full course yellow is out.
Yeah, and for Kenny Murillo, I'm not sure. There were several cars behind him came in, but
Yep.
he had a 5-second lead over number 7 car, which was running in second place and did duck into the pits. I'm not quite sure whether conceivably the race leader, Kenny Murillo, was already committed to going past the pit lane before everybody realised that car was in the gravel trap. The fact he pulled out a pretty substantial lead of over 5 seconds could be costly for him if that was indeed the scenario.
I think we went past it at least once.
No.
No?
The number 7 car was in pretty quickly.
Okay.
After that car was deposited in the gravel, I believe.
Right, we've just had a TGM car into the pit lane, and that is the number 46, that's Owen Trinkler, and they have got radiator damage on the right front. I think that's day done, and that is massive championship implications, because that was the car that came in as joint championship leader. No, that's the Plum car, excuse me. It's the 46 car, my apologies.
Oh, wow.
Just panicked everybody.
Well, yeah, but that
was second place.
Because, yeah, that's certainly more significant because number 64 car, yes, it needs the points now, but quite frankly, is unlikely to be doing so for too much longer. But number 46 car was in 6th place position, only 60 points off the championship lead, so that is a major blow to the Plum Brothers championship aspirations.
That is contact on the right front of that car. The coolers, the intercoolers, the radiators in there on the right front and the left front, and in fact in the middle, there's an oil cooler right in the middle as well of the Caymans. And it has been for quite some time, and I was going to call it an Achilles heel, but as it's not at the back, I'm not sure you can say that, but it has been a soft target for Porsche race cars. There's limited amount of damage there, but enough as the car goes behind the wall to damage the right front radiator, and there was fluid on the pit lane when that car entered the closed pit, presumably temperatures spiking in that car, and that car, well, they may try and get it back out again. It's not that simple of a job to change the radiator. You'd have to take off the whole front valance on that car and get it back out again, to get it back out again, should I say. So second full course yellow, Jeremy. Kenny Murillo still leading, yet to make a pit stop. Any TCRs that stopped just before the full course yellow there, they might have enough with a bit of yellow help to get towards the end. The GS's, it's going to be tight. If you stop now for the GS's, it's still going to be tight.
Yeah, but this is a short yellow, isn't it? So is that...
The pits have opened. Oh my goodness, that damage for TGM happened in the pit lane. They were sideswiped by one of the Hyundais as it was on the way in, and the TGM car was getting ready to move. The Hyundai pulled across in front of it and brushed the front right. So that was damage that happened in the pit lane. Wow, great pickup from our replay crews. And it's the number 2 Hyundai, I think. Yes, it is. That went across the front of that Porsche. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
The number 46 car should not have been released.
No, indeed.
You should have seen the other cars going past. That was what would be termed an unsafe release on that car. So a costly mistake by that usually very savvy pit crew on the Team TGM entry.
Yeah, self-inflicted there, as Jeremy Shaw says. Shit, Adam, you've got more pit callers as the pits are open for the GS, the GT4 car.
Crucial mistake from Bill Oberlin there as he tried to pull into his pit box and couldn't. He was about a half a card's width way too far out, and the crew eventually just sent him. He sat stationary in the box for 5 seconds while they decided if they could do some work to it. He has gone back out with no additional service. The first of the cars who has had the service is the car right behind. Robbie Foley and Vin Barletta still have not made it down to the team yet to see if Vin has met the minimum drive time, but we've had a driver change to the number 56. Kenton Cook is out, and now it is Eric Foss, full season driver. Driver changed in the 28 RS1 Porsche as well as Stephen Mackler, first time driving today. He's in the car, so So I think it's safe to say, John, he's been fighting food poisoning all day, poor Stephen. This is not going to be an easy stint for the Scotsman. We've also got the 11 Capstone Mercedes into the pits, dragging a bit of bodywork from the right rear, and it has been an adventure for that team the last couple of weeks, dealing with transporters that have broken and difficulties even making it to the racetrack. But here they are. They've won for the Bronze Cup the last 2 races in a row, looking to try and make it 3 on the season.
Oh, dear me. I can't believe that TGM have thrown away a really, really good finish there with that just slight loss of concentration, momentary lapse of concentration. It's a statutory defence for road traffic law in the UK. And it really was. Didn't read the Hyundai number 2 coming in, just a couple of pits ahead of them. Also got a review going on for the incident involving the Audi RS3 LMS, the 15 from Bellegarde and Technisail Racing, and the number 69, which we saw in the, I think we saw that in the gravel, didn't we, for Absolute Racing? Yes, that was the car at turn 11, so that was the car that helped him off. It was the TCR car that helped them off. We are pits open for TCR, and Shea Adam has more callers.
We've got Parker Chase into the number 98. This was the pole-sitting car. Harry Gottsacker is out. Mark Wilkins taking over for Robbie Wickens in the 33 Hyundai. And in the 54, it is finally time for Steven Simpson to go play. Michael Johnson's day is done. The Hyundai are leaving the number 2. Oh my goodness. You know the old adage, you should see the other guy? Well, I saw the TGM Porsche and it looked bad, but the number 2 Hyundai looks awful. It looks like someone's taken a sledgehammer to the side of that car. Red light is on at the pit exit as the number 2 is the first car to wait for that light to go green. And then it is followed out by 5 Hyundais and then the Alpha. But here's the serious advantage, because the 15 Bellegarde Audi, the RS3, it has the first pit box on the pit lane, meaning that when it goes to try and rejoin, it's going in the 3rd position. No, it just went around the other 2 cars because they weren't moving in the fast lane. So now he leads first, even though he got rolling about 7th.
That's fantastic. I have no clue whether that's legal or not, but I really like the chutzpah of the team to just drive up the inside, pop out at the front. Oh, green light, thank you very much. That was great. They are at the moment under investigation for that contact with the Absolute Racing Porsche that ended up in the gravel to driver's right at the outside of turn number 11. I can't see what was wrong with that. I think that was great heads up driving by the Audi. Was it Denny Dupont who took that car out? I think it was.
The 15 car.
Yeah,
the 15 car. Yeah.
Well done, Denny. Very good. Under an hour to go. Under 58 minutes to go now. So this is the time when everybody is doing their calculations on the pit wall, particularly in TCR, as to how much fuel did we get and how much fuel do we need to use, and is this going to work? The GS now, everybody has made at least 1 pit stop. Some, like the number 6, number 6 who is sitting in 6th position, the Forbush Performance Toyota Supra, they've made 3 pit stops for Mark Kawame and Tom Long. And
so have the 2 Turner cars ahead of them in 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, absolutely.
They came in for a splash of fuel, for fuel only during that first caution period. Then they came in again to make their driver change shortly after we went back to green, and now they're coming in to top off one more time.
Wow.
Or have just come in to top off one more time.
There is a train of thought in endurance racing that if you can get in without wasting too much time, i.e. under a yellow, you should try and do that in endurance racing and get the fuel and get out. It's a bit circuit dependent, track dependent on, how important track position is, and it is important here. Let's go down to the pit lane. Great opening stint for the man who, I don't know when he found out when he was going to be racing. Maybe Shea Adam can ask him that. Pole position and race leader early on for Kenton Cook for Murillo Racing.
Kenton, we were talking before the green flag came out about the start and trying to keep someone with the driver prowess of Alex Premal behind you. Well, you did that. You drove away from the rest of the field too. How was that opening stint for Murillo?
It was good, obviously, but I can't, honestly. It's been a heck of an opportunity to come here and work with these guys. It's like family. I mean, my first race ever in IMSA was with Murillo. So it's good to be back and good to be back with these guys for a couple rounds. And thanks, Jeff, for putting me in to substitute for you for these couple rounds. But, oh my God, you cannot pass out on an opportunity to learn from Alex. When I got behind him and he was on the old tires, I was on the new tires, it was everything I could do to, one, try to get by him because he is really wide. But it was super cool to be able to follow a guy like that. And you know, you never miss out on an opportunity to learn. And it's awesome to be around a legend like that. But yeah, it's been good.
It was a great stave off the start at the Andretti hairpin because it looked like you went a little bit wide off the start. What was it like from your perspective?
Yeah, I didn't want to get passed. So when I went down in there into turn 2, I got to the brake pedal and it felt like I locked up a little bit, honestly. Even though these cars have ABS, if you grenade the brake pedal a little bit too much, you can kind of force a lock as well. So I grenaded the brake pedal trying to get my nose ahead. And then I washed wide there. And he kind of got underneath me and I was able to still get it turned and roll the outside there. And then I ended up obviously in the lead on that one. But yeah, it was a little bit of rubbing, but it's, that's racing.
Love it. And when did you find out that you were coming out here?
Monday.
Oh goodness. Well, hey Kenton, good luck the rest of the way, and hopefully we need to talk to you again a little bit later.
I sure as heck hope so. Eric's gonna bring it home here.
Great to hear Kenton Cook back on home soil. So he's been racing in Europe in the GT4 category, hasn't he, Jeremy? Really well deserved, talented young man who is not averse to doing anything to get himself a drive. He's moved all over the country in the US, got the opportunity to drive in Europe, and so he shipped himself out there for a few races. Good to have him back in the IMSA paddock. We've watched his career develop with interest through his early years in Mazda, where he won several championships, and smashing lad. Good to see him doing so well.
Yeah, he's a busy boy this year because he's driving the SRO series. Well, won a race I think up at Sonoma a few weeks ago in an Aston Martin. So he's a really talented guy. He's created opportunities for himself and taken full advantage of them as well. Great to see. Really hard-working young man.
Coming down to 53 minutes to go. Full course yellow. We'll reset the field. In fact, that has been done. Still waiting to find out the results of a number of incidents that are under review, including the most recent one, the number 93 car bomb with Peregrine Porsche, and the number 15 Bellegarde and Technical Racing Audi. At turn 3, so that's 2, I think, for that Audi that is being looked at. Trent Hinman, Volt Racing, clear track in front of him. We're going back to green. Little bit of cloud just beginning to gather over at turns 2 and 5. Volt Racing then goes through the green flag. See the officials on the start stand have put their over jackets on, getting a lot cooler here. Now Trent Hinman, who's often being put in the car to close things out and having to chase people down, well now he's having to do it from the front of the field. Right in behind him, that is the number 64, that's a lapped car for TGM.
It is Owen Trinkler. He is only one lap down, so if he can manage to find a way past Trent Hinman, he will be back on the lead lap. So that is the focus, certainly, for Owen Trinkler.
I said that the number 15 Audi has a couple of reviews going on for tipping round the absolute Porsche at turn 11, the final corner. That will be a drive-through for the number 15 Belgard Technical Racing Audi. So that car, currently in 6th, will have to come down the pit lane for a drive-through, and they are being looked at for another incident as well. Not been a good few minutes for that car. So Owen Trinkler trying to get his lap back and potentially hope for another full course caution. He's not at the moment able to keep up with the Aston Martin. We know how fast that Aston is in a straight line, and now he's got the Nola Sport number 47. That's the similar machine to that which he is driving, Jason Hart, man from Texas, in the 718 GT4 RS CS. Ren Sport, Club Sport, I suppose that must be. It's a lot of sporting, isn't it? And Porsche just releasing the new 992 Club Sport this week. Very, very pretty car. And I'm very excited about a 992 that has a factory ducktail for the street. My mind churning already about how we can make use of that. Under 50 minutes to go. It's been a great tactical run by the guys at Roadshagger. Remember, they came in just quite early on with Gavin Ernstone in the number 61, the dark grey Audi. Gavin stayed in the car because he hadn't done his drive time. Got a bit of extra fuel, cycled around, and then as they've come through, John Morley is now in the car and leading the class ahead of Mikey Taylor in the number 17 Unitronics car. This is all good stuff. Both of those cars, Jeremy, taking the chances just before full course yellows to get in. They read what was going on out on the circuit. They've done a good job, and now the Simply Vegas car is leading TCR.
Yeah, the chips have fallen their way in the race. I mean, they've had very luck at all, it seems, lately, but they're taking advantage of a good strategy here, good calls at the right time, in the right place at the right time, and that car, as you see, is out in front. And John Morley, he calls San Francisco home these days, originally from Columbus, Ohio, but he's spent a lot of time here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca as a driver coach. Not sure where he met John Morley, whether that was here or not. But he knows this track well, and he is looking to bring that car home from here. This team, they've already had 4 wins previously. Best finish of this season was a 4th last time out at Sebring after a disappointing start at Daytona.
That's Jeremy Shaw. We're under 50 minutes to go, and Jeremy and I in the Hackney Global Broadcast Centre, and the cloud that I mentioned a few moments ago has really rolled in. That's affecting the temperature. I'll give you that in a moment, but I need to give you some penalties. First of all, improper pass around. Now that is going to be a big penalty for the number 18 CB Motorsports Hyundai Veloster for Caleb Bacon and Kyle Ranieri and Caleb, and it is a stop plus 3 minutes 10. The race control, Jeremy, we should explain this. Don't tell people who can have the pass around. You are told that if you are entitled to it, to take it. It's down to the team to know what they are doing. However, you get it wrong, it's punitive, and that's what we've got right there for the 18 Audi.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if he was following somebody else through, then that's one way that mistake can happen. Just not paying complete attention to the surroundings, basically, and or not getting the right call from his pit crew as to who is eligible for the pass round and who isn't. But what that pass round is for those fans unfamiliar with the rules here, when a full course caution comes out, any cars that are trapped in between the safety car at the front of the field and the class leader, i.e. the TCR class leader in this case, is able to go around past the safety car and pull around to the back of the pack. Because he's not yet been lapped, those cars have not been lapped by their class leader, they're able to take up position at the back of the pack. So they haven't gained a position, they've just gained position on the race track, but not a position in the field, overall field. And it's, as you say, John, it's up to the teams to be aware of who is eligible and who is not for that pass around.
Mentioned the temperatures. The air temperature's now down to 15 degrees Celsius, 59 Fahrenheit. The track temperature down to 75. It was 100 earlier on today, 75 Fahrenheit. So that'll tell you what the sun going behind a cloud is doing to the temperatures here. Now that's good news for the Michelin tyres and for anybody who's driving, of course. I noticed a few people had cool suits. Second penalty for the 15 Audi. They've already got a drive-through for incident responsibility contact with the 69 Absolute Porsche. Also incident responsibility and contact with the number 93 car bomb with Peregrine Porsche. So that's two Porsches that have been spun around, and incident responsibility both times. And both of those penalties have been served. And Shea Adam, watch that car, that Audi, come down through the pit lane. They haven't come out of that unscathed, both in track position or indeed on bodywork.
Yeah, the penultimate sound that you heard through my microphone was the sound of that Audi going down the front straight. There is a big crack right in the middle of the front of that Audi, and the bodywork is actually pushed in significantly too, so they've got a lot of damage from the contact with the Porsche.
Shea Adam down in the pit lane for us here on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. 44 minutes still to go. This is building up rather nicely. Plenty of battles around the circuit. The PF Racing Mustang dragging up behind the number 72 Murillo Racing AMG, and right ahead the number 60. That's another Mustang. So this is battling in, well, down towards the bottom end of the top 10 and into the teens. Looks like a pass made there by the Murillo Racing number 72, and Christian Simchak driving that car to the end of the race now. Nice opportunist manoeuvre as there was a bit of a lock-up from that number 60 Core Motorsport car. Nate Stacey just going a bit long. Billy Johnson's just up ahead as well in the rather more traditional pink machine. Well, this is all starting to get very interesting indeed. Jeremy Shaw's keeping an eye on what's going on. It's been great tactics for Volt Racing and for Turner that has got them to the front of the field, Jeremy, but different tactics. Volt Racing with only one pit stop, Turner Racing and Bill Oberlin with 3, and yet they're only 2.5 seconds apart, working on what to this point, to the last pit stop, have been pretty different pit strategies. Yes, Jeremy, sorry.
I thought you threw down the pit lane. We've seen some really fast lap times right now, John. We've seen, with the temperatures cooling down here, we've seen virtually all of the cars setting their fastest laps of the race. The new fastest lap of the race has been set by Spencer Pompelli back in the 15th position in car number 83. And his best, he's got down, it's a new lap record, in fact, for Spencer Pompelli, the 1:30.912, 3 tenths quicker than Corey Lewis's lap record set a couple of years ago in the McLaren. But all of the cars are turning some really, really quick laps right now. Trent Hidman leads this race by about 2.5 seconds over Bill Oberlin, who's just got past Jason Hart and into second place. So Bill Oberlin up in second place.
And Shea Adam, this is all the more remarkable for Turner. I said 3 pit stops. Yeah, there have been 3 times down the pit lane, but they've not done 3 pit stops effectively.
Yeah, correct, because the reason that they got so far up the field was because Bill Auberlen came into the pits with everyone else and he left ahead of them because he didn't get service. He stopped too far out of his box for the crew to do any work to the car. So he did not get fuel, he did not get tires, meaning that he will need to pit before everyone else will next time around. But as for right now, Bill Auberlen is happily hunting down Trent Hinman. And this is basically a replay of what we had last year in this race, John, because it was Turner Motorsport and Bill Auberlen trying to hunt down the car being run by Wright Motorsport. And Volt Racing has some geniuses from Wright sitting on their pit box.
Yeah, not going to argue with that. We always say there's as much talent on the pit stand as there is behind the wheel. Side by side racing down at the first corner, and once again it's Nate Stacey for Core Motorsport in the white, pink and green Mustang, and he has just lost a position to the number 40 PF Racing Mustang. James Pesek behind the wheel of the PF car. It's the Ozarks International Raceway supported car. 877 in that mix as well, fighting back. Kyle Marcelli taking over. That car has been punted off and goes hard into the wall. Driver's left.
Sheesh.
That was a big, big hit. That car spun around earlier on by, full course yellow, by the way. That car was spun around earlier on when Sheena Monk was in the car at the top of the corkscrew by one of the TCR cars, wasn't it? Robert Wiggins at the wheel. That didn't bring a penalty, which I'm a bit surprised at, to be honest. But that was a big hit for that car, the 877, and Kyle Marcelli, and that's taken the front end off the car. The car stood up really well. All the wheels are still pointing in the right direction, but it's lost bodywork, dissipated the energy, but it hit concrete on the left there, in between 5 and 6. 2 drivers left.
And remember back to Sebring, John, Carl Marcelli had a huge crash there as well, where he was involved with the TCR car going through the kink at turn 9, wasn't it? That was a huge wreck. So 2 big wrecks in consecutive events here for Carl Marcelli in 2 completely different cars. Of course, it was the Toyota he was driving last time. Wow.
That was a Porsche that pushed him around this time.
Yeah, number 8 car. Would it be the number 8 car?
The McCann
Yeah, he was
racing car.
dicing with number 8. Let's have a look.
That would be Andrew Davis, who is a very, very experienced driver. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other there, I'm not sure.
No, what happened there, John, is that the 2 tyres rubbed together. The tyres stick out from bodywork and it just hooked. It wasn't a hard impact. There was no sudden moves there from either driver. And Carl there was just really, really unlucky. The car just kind of hooked and took off on him. It wasn't his fault. I don't think it was Andrew Davis's fault either. I think it was just the fact that the cambers on those wheels they just hooked in exactly the perfect storm, if you like, and tipped that car into a spin.
Kyle's out the car, Jeremy, and he did that under his own volition and didn't need to be helped. It's a measure of how fast it was there. That started just past the VP drive-over bridge between 5 and 6. The car has finished up beyond the apex of turn 6, still on the left-hand side. It hasn't come back on the track, but that will tell you how quick they were going at that point. And when Jeremy says the camber, what he means is the front tyres stick out at the bottom more than they do at the top. So the top of the wheel and tyre, and the Michelin tyre, is underneath the fender, underneath the wheel arch, at the top of of where it's sitting, but at the bottom it's sticking out, and that's to help the car turn and try and get the tyre as flat as possible when you're turning the car through a corner. It's the same on the back, not quite as usually not quite as pronounced, but those 2 wheels there, perfectly observed and described by Jeremy Shaw, just interlocking like you would with a single seat, an open wheel car. Because they're sticking out, they don't have the fenders around them to protect it. This will be a short yellow and there'll be no pass around, and we're going to have recovery with 37 minutes to go, and it's another full course yellow. Just a note to Shea and Jeremy to think about the Michelin moment of the race in both GS and in TCR. At the moment, I think I'm going for tricky pit strategy today, because that has definitely played its part. You could look at Volt Racing and Turner Motorsport at the top of GS. Certainly look at Unitronic and the JDC car and Road Shagger Racing, first and second, or second and first. Was there a tiny little move from the PF Racing 877? Maybe, but I mean, it's negligible. I don't think anybody's going to get penalised for that. The race control are looking at that. It's racing. They came out of turn 5 together. There was action in front as they were moving around. I tell you what, though, that is a big hit for the front of that Mustang, and that, Jeremy, has stood up very well indeed. Did the 877 move a tiny bit to its left? Maybe, but it's negligible, and in super slow motion, we're having to watch that in real time. That is really difficult to say that that's anybody's fault there. I'm just looking up definition of a racing accident in my rule book here, and there could honestly be a picture, a video of that. I could see it. I mean, it could be called, but I can see it being called as no action as well. It's being looked at in race control at the moment. Let's leave it to them.
Yeah, so normally the side-by-side contact is door panel to door panel, or at least body panel to body panel. But on that occasion, the two tyres, the right side tyres on the Porsche, and the left-hand side tyres on the Ford Mustang, just kind of interlocked very, very briefly. As you say, it's more akin to an open wheel accident than a sports car accident. But the effect was the same, and it was a big shunt for Kyle Marcelli, the second as many races, and he'll be nothing. It seems to be going the way of that team at that crew at the moment.
Well, once again, our recovery and cleanup crew have done a great job. Debris spread for 50 or 60 yards there. And that's already been cleared up. The car is on the back of the flatbed. That's the 877 machine. And they've got damage to left, check that, right rear, both sides at the front. I wouldn't be surprised to see steering arm damage on that would be the left front of that car. The rear end actually the alignment looks pretty straight. Now, I haven't got my bits of string out to check that, but that's going to require a little bit of remedial work before we see that car again. And there's disappointment from Sheena Monk and the rest of the team. They've not had the rub of the green today. Sheena Monk unceremoniously turned around by Robert Wiggins earlier on in the race. Incident, I'm just looking back through the race control channel, and I'm not even sure that was looked at, to be honest. I'm just going through it again. Not seeing that. So they will feel a little hard done by today, I think. The car, the green and white Mustang, being brought back to the pit lane. So the GS cars will go back to the front, but the pits have not opened. We've got 32.5 minutes just over to go. I think we might be getting into the era, Jeremy, where these GS cars have only done the one stop. This might be playing nicely into Volt Racing and Trent Hinman's hands here.
Yeah, it could be. This is going to be it's obviously a fairly lengthy cleanup. I think if there hadn't been this caution period, they certainly would have needed to come in for fuel. I think even now it's going to be touch and go. And the number 7 car that actually came in right before the yellow. That was one of the cars that ducked in right before that previous crash, incident when number 69 car got stuck in the gravel. So everybody else came in. They did 3 more laps, okay, under yellow, before they made their stops, their sort of kind of regular stops under caution. So number 7 car and number 46, well, that's already out of the race, isn't it? But number 95, those are the cars that are going to be in a little bit of strife potentially in terms of being able to get to the end. So it's the first, 4 cars in this field, 7, 95, 47, and no, just those 3. 96 car did come in with everybody else.
Correct.
But the top 3, they came in right before that caution period. Actually, Bill Oberlin, did he come in again on lap?
Remember, he couldn't get into his pit, so he effectively did a drive-through. So he's only had service twice from the 3 times he's been down pit lane. But what that did mean is when everybody else came in, he just drove past everybody and got his track position back. Yes, he still had to come down pit lane, but he didn't lose all that much because he would have still been going at safety car speeds on the front straight as he came in. And he's in 2nd position now. So that's a bit of an anomaly there that we've got to remind ourselves about. So a little bit of overcast here that has taken the sunshine away from the late afternoon racing. 5:30, 30 minutes past 5 this Saturday afternoon at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. If you are just joining us, trackside or further afield, thank you. Big weekend. Bill Oberlin in 2nd position with the white hood, the white bonnet on the blue and yellow number 95, right in the wheel tracks of the Volt Racing Aston Martin that leads. The safety car lights on the Hyundai are out. We'll be going back to racing for around about 29 minutes. Let's hope we can keep this green. This is going to be absolutely fascinating. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to IMSA Radio and IMSA TV as Trent Hindman versus Bill Oberlin at the front of the field. That's worth the price of admission. Jason Hart and Robbie Foley then behind them. They'll be wanting to be close in there as well. And let's not count out that Riley Motorsports GR Supra in 5th position. That is a quick car, particularly in a straight line. Good restart from Trent Hindman down towards the Andretti hairpin. Stays towards the middle of the road. Supra trying to go around the outside. Got to be careful. He's got Eric Voss right in his wheel tracks. That was the car that Kenton Cook was drafted into on Monday. He only found out that he would be racing and just came in and casually planted the car on pole position. Stephen McAleer for RS1 in 7th. And it's, well, this is a dash for cash, isn't it, at the end of this race? Good restart by all of them. 14, Thiago Camilo from Sao Paulo, Brazil, in the Riley Motorsports GR Supra. Gets a good run on the number 96 of Robbie Foley, but had to lift out as they were coming up to the top of the hill. Tries to go around the outside into the corkscrew. That's an audacious manoeuvre. Could get hung out to dry there. Good opportunist manoeuvre for Eric Voss, and he goes through. Drags through Stephen McAleer as well. Oh, a little bit of inexperience there by the Toyota Supra driver as Thiago just tried to go around the outside and has cost himself, what, 3 positions now, Jeremy? Having been on the offensive, has now lost some positions.
Yeah, it's not inexperience because he's massively experienced. Is Thiago Camilo. He's 4 times he's finished 2nd and 3 times 3rd in Stock Car Brazil, which is a super tight championship contested stock cars in Brazil. So huge amount of experience. But that car finished on the podium last time out with Andy Jacos, the Toyota factory driver from Argentina, just 22 years of age. He had a tremendous performance at Sebring to bring that car home on the podium. And I think Thiago Camilo there, who's a lot more experienced than Andy Jacos is, was trying to do the emulate that and get on the podium again. It's been another strong run for that Riley Motorsports Toyota.
lack of experience here, perhaps, is what I should have said, because I think that was an audacious manoeuvre. If it had come off, we would have been raving about it, no doubt. He's cost himself 3 positions, but he's still in the hunt. Shea Adam has just had a pit caller with 26.5 minutes to go. Who was that, Shea?
That was Owen Trinkler in the co-championship leader coming into this race with the current race leader. So that's definitely going to go the way of Volt Racing if things stay as they are. Fuel and tires for Owen. And Thiago does not have an excuse, John. He raced here last year and finished 8th.
Aye, good point. I'd forgotten about that, if I'm honest. A couple of things from race control that I just want to tidy up. I've now found the fact that I'm indebted to Lee Triggers for pointing this out as well. The Robert Wickens and the 877 incident earlier on was reviewed by race control, no action taken, and as far as the number 96 Turner Motorsport car, Vin Barletta got his drive time by 36 seconds, but it could have been 1 second. It doesn't make any difference. If he'd been short by 1 second or 36, he'd been penalised. So 36 seconds, so Turner got that one exactly right for Vin Barletta, and Robbie Foley clear to run all the way at the end. Thanks, Lee, for passing that through, and to the responsible adult, Eve Hewitt, for putting that in the screen here in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us, we've still somehow got to pick our Michelin moment of the race here. That's going to take some narrowing down at the front of the TCR field. There's a couple of contenders there, surely, with the Unitronic Audi sitting in second. That was good tactics, even better from John Morley and Gavin Ernstone for the Roadshagger Racing Audi, the number 61. They lead at the moment in that dark grey car. Into the left, right at the corkscrew. John bringing that car home. Be great to see them get another victory. Third position at the moment is the Van der Ster Racing Hyundai. That is the best of the Hyundais. The number 19 car, Tyler Gonzalez behind the wheel now, Jeremy.
Yeah, and the Van der Ster car, it's an older car. That's a Veloster, of course.
Yeah, I quite like it in that white and striped livery. Now in GS, Trent Hinman by just half a second now from Bill Oberlin, who's closed in. And Jason Hart's about another second or so further behind. Now there's a cracking battle going on a wee bit further down the field. We're talking about 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, all the way down, frankly, to the bottom end of the top 10. They are all line astern as they head up the hill now. Robbie Foley's not that far ahead of that battle with Eric Voss as well, and he's just gone through there. Stephen Macaulay has just gone past Voss, hasn't it? Yes, he has. Macaulay in the RS1 Porsche is up to 5th position. That little Porsche Cayman, very nimble, low slung, mid-engine, and the engine being a flat 6 in that car is very, very low to the ground. In fact, if you look at a road-going street stock Cayman or Boxster, whether it's a 718 or a 981, you'll do well to find the engine in that car. You can't see it at all, and there's no way to get. I have no clue how to do any work on it in the street cars. It is really low down, right in the middle of the car. Beautiful balance on those machines, and he's up against a front engine BMW of Robbie Foley at the moment, and the number 28 white, yellow and black RS1 Cayman of Stephen Macaulay, dragging that Eric Voss driven Murillo Racing number 56 AMG. That's another front engine car, of course. Behind that, Billy Johnson in a front engined Mustang, and then it's the Camilleri driven Riley Motorsport GR Supra. They're all front engine cars. Macaulay trying to find a gap, make up another position, battling for 4th on down there from Robbie Foley.
Tremendous battle. I mean, pretty much all the way down the field now, around to 20th place there's only 13 seconds coming in the top 20 positions in GS. Okay, you've only been 4 or 5 laps after the caution period, but there has been very little spreading out at all. The guy who does seem to be struggling, though, somewhat surprising, is Robin Liddell in that number 71 Rebel Rock Camaro, because he took the restart after the earlier caution period in the what is it called, 5th position. He's all the way down now to 15th.
Very unusual. Robin likes a bit of a scrap, doesn't he? And this would have been right up his street, I would have thought. And he, at the moment, is looking at the back of Nate Stacey's car. Well, he would be. It's about a couple of seconds up the road. And in fact, he's just lost a position there to the hard point, number 22, that has just gone by. The hardpoint 22 being the Racing to End Alzheimer's and Logistics Porsche 718 of Sean McAllister. Now at the front of TCR, I really don't have to tell you this, but it's hotting up. And coming through the field at the moment is the... Oh, and there's a problem for the Unitronics car. I was just about to say the Alpha was coming through, and I think dead stick, the Liquid Volley Unitronic number 17 car. Mikey Taylor. Oh, that is such a shame. The big mover there was the KMW Motorsport Alpha 5 car. But all of a sudden, it was a problem. As Tim Lewis went through, the Taylor car I think it's just stopped. Continuing slowly, race control telling us. That was out of the Andretti hairpin. The battle continues and still John Morley leads. But now, from the Alpha in second, Tyler Gonzalez in the Van der Steur Racing car in what will now be 3rd position in that older Veloster. I've no clue what happened there. They were having a good scrap down to the Andretti hairpin. Taylor goes a little bit right. Did he get a touch? Yeah, a little bit. And as he comes out of the corner, I mean, it's a front-wheel drive car. He's still got drive. And also the 64 Trinkler, Owen Trinkler TGM car going slow as well, with just under 20 minutes to go. And that was up at turn 4. He hasn't got to turn 5. He's recycling the power. Owen, the man from Nashville. Oh, man. Not been a good day for Team GGM. This car came into the weekend leading the championship. The second car, which was in a good spot, 6th in the championship. Meantime, Gavin Ernstone is pacing like an expectant father down in the pit lane. Full course yellow is out with 18 3/4 minutes to go. This will absolutely, I reckon, Jeremy, give Trent Hinman the opportunity to go to the end in the Volt Racing car. They'll have done it on one stop. It also takes the heat for a moment off John Morley, and he'll be able to cool down his Michelin tyres, particularly on the front of that dark grey Simply Vegas number 61 Audi.
Yeah, this will certainly good news for a whole bunch of teams. I think that anybody who thought they had a chance to get to the end without stretching it too much, this will be the tipping point for them. So they should be able to get to the end. It's still going to be a stretch, I would have thought, for the GS cars, but it's a full hour under green. Since they made the pit stop, about more than an hour since they made the pit stop. It'll be towards to get to the end of the race. But as you say, there's been quite a few laps now under caution period, so this will help enormously. Whether it's enough, I'm not quite sure, to be perfectly honest. I don't have the fuel consumption figures really to hand, because they won't tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're playing cards close to chest in that situation, because if we know it, then other people would know it as well. Time for us, as part of the IMSA radio broadcast team, to think about our Michelin moments of the race. We're in a full course yellow. Needed nominations for GS and TCR. Shea Adam, TCR, Michelin moment of the race. We're going to give them a new set of racing tyres, whoever gets this. Where are you leaning at the moment? Are you narrowing it down between a few cars? Or have you got somebody who you can sort of point at this point with? Still, all right, we've still got just under 17 minutes to go. But where's your thinking at the moment?
I'm staying in my happy place, John, which is the pit lane, because I think this race will be won based off of decisions that were made here. And Trevor McClure is the brain on the box for Road Shagger Racing. He told me before the race began, he actually told me yesterday, they were going to have to try something a little bit tricky in the pits. Well, that's what they've done, and John Morley is out front.
What about GS, Shea? Is that a strategy call for you as well?
Yeah. For GS, there's one car right now at the head of the field with one pit stop to its name, so I'm going to give it to Bobby V and Wright Motorsport. Jeremy, do you agree with my thinking?
Oh, Jeremy, GS at the front of the field, Volt Racing, and run by Wright Motorsport, Trent Hinman and Adam Brynjolfsson, just one pit stop. That's Shea's nomination in GS and Road Shagger in TCR. She's gone for the strategy calls there. What's your thinking for Michelin moment of the race?
Yeah, I think for sure number 17 in GS, if they're able to get to the end from here, certainly. For TCR, well, it's tougher. I haven't really seen. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with anything else really, because there's a whole bunch of people that potentially could do it. But you know, if that number 19 team can stay where they are, which is currently in 4th position, the Van der Steur Racing entry with that year-old car, the Veloster. Yeah, they've done a super job to be right in contention all the way through this race. Young Tyler Gonzalez driving that car at the moment, having taken over from Rory Van der Steur.
That's a very good point, Jeremy. This full course yellow is taking us into the last 15 minutes with a rear bodywork dragging on the Skill Soft number 11. That's the AMG, and that is the car of Gary Ferreira and Chris Wilson for Capstone Motorsports. It is Chris behind the wheel of that car. So was that just running across a curb, or was that contact? Possibly only the driver and the team will know. I've got some good news for you, that the errant cars have been removed from places of danger and put behind the wall. We're going to go back green at the end of this lap on the Hyundai Sports Car weekend here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. The Elantra pulls away and heads to the pit lane. And here comes Trent Hinman. He will have to hold off none other than Bill Oberlin on this restart. There's a scary thought just in itself. Then Jason Hart, Robbie Foley and Stephen McAleer and Billy Johnson. Not exactly a bad lineup, that, is it, for the top 6. Great restart from Trent. Here comes Oberlin. They both go down the inside to turns 1 and 2. Oberlin got his nose up the inside of the bright yellow Volt Racing Aston Martin, coming out of the Andretti hairpin, but had to lift off and back away. He wasn't close enough. Good driving by both men there as they restart. Looks like Foley up into 3rd position. Meantime, the TCR hordes are gathering. Oh, and through into 2nd place there is the number 98, Brian Herter at Hyundai. And that therefore is a change. It's the Harry Gottsacker and Parker Chase car, and it's Parker who's finishing this race off, and that's a place lost then by the number 5, the Alpha. Oh, a lot of, now that is tyre smoke coming off the back of one of the Hyundais. It's the right rear of the number 33 car. That car was in 6th position on the restart, but that's already dropped back for Mark Wilkins. That was the Robin Wiggins car earlier on, and I think that car will have to come back in the pit lane. That's a top 6 finish that is gone begging there, Jeremy. There's obviously been contact to the right rear of that car. It's pushed the bodywork onto the right rear Michelin.
Indeed so, and that car has also set the fastest lap of the race. this afternoon as well in TCR, 1 minute 33.6, which is not quite a lap record. John Morley holds a lap record, 1:33.585, but it's been a good run. They had to come from the back of the pack, remember, after the problems in qualifying for Robbie Wickens, so that'll be a disappointing end to that day for that number 33 team. Can you see what happened here? Oh yes, he got nailed from behind there by number 99, Carl Whitmer, it looked like.
Yeah, the Victor Gonzalez racing car, spot on, Jeremy. And I think both of those cars have just come into the pit lane. Yes, they have. Shea Adam will keep an eye on that for us. Shea, just a tyre change for the 33. I'll come back to you in a moment because there's been more contact coming out of turn number 11 between the Supra and one of the Mustangs as well there. I think they both got away with it. Shea, what went on? I'm not sure they fixed that. I still see tyre smoke from the Hyundai.
That was a brilliant burnout by Mark Wilkins, who had a lot of fun with that one. No, they didn't really fix a lot. They just made sure that the bodywork wasn't going to rub on the tire, but it is rubbing on the exhaust. So the 33 is very much a damaged car. The 99 is in Carl Whitmer. The hood went up. The brake lights have just gone off. It looks like that car is not resuming in the race.
Flat tyre as well for that car when it came into the pit lane. 21 minutes of yellow since Trent Hinman last pitted. That would, since it last pitted, that would be an hour and 8 minutes. But as I said, 21 minutes within that. Thanks, Lee, for firing that into us. I think that's doable. I do think that's doable for Trent Hinman. He's got 10 minutes to work it out. Side by side for a podium position in TCR. The Alpha is fighting a little rear guard action at the moment. Now tries to push forward, in fact, because he was having a look at Parker Chase there for a moment. Has he got through? Yes, he has. Back up into second position. So the Alpha's back up to second. I thought he was defending his third place. In fact, he's gone forward. So it's the Roadshagger Audi from the KWM Motorsport Alpha, then the Brian Herter number 98 Hyundai. That's your top three. And you see, as I say that, I see a Hyundai ahead of the Roadshagger car, but I think that's a car that's a lap down. And Shea Adam with news from the pit lane. We've got, I think, a pit stop for one of the leading runners.
I think Bill Oberlin is expected to come into the pits. He stayed out this time by. Stephen McAleer is going to go through in a second, though. No, Bill Oberlin is in. This is the white hood on the BMW. It looks like a left front tire problem, perhaps. Oh, heartbreak for Bill Oberlin and Dylan McAleer, 2 years in a row, fighting for the lead, having to pit with the tire issue. Oh.
Yeah, I think they're going to splash of fuel as well. Meantime, the other BMW fighting with Stephen McAleer. McAleer has gone through in the RS1 Porsche. That's now second position for McAleer at the front of the TCR field. There's a contact between the leader, Roadshagger Racing, and one of the lapped Hyundais, or almost last Hyundais, down at the Andretti hairpin, and that's allowed the number 5 Alpha Giulietta to get back in the mix. Both cars have continued. Nail the throttle on a front wheel drive car when you get sideways and point the wheel, roughly speaking, where you want to go. But it's side by side into turn 5 for the battle for the lead in TCR with just on 8 minutes to go. And well, John Morley, oh, that was a big dive down the inside there on the number 2 Brian Herter Autosport TCR. I wonder how race control will look at that. It was the leader coming through. Didn't penalise Robert Wickens for similar contact with Sheena Monk earlier on. Might get away with that. See if it's being looked at. Yes, it is under review. Well, this is going to be interesting. Very interesting indeed. Side by side again. More battles. This time the 96 Turner BMW with the Riley Motorsport Supra, and they come together. Here's the Nola Sport number 47 Porsche trying to make its way through. This is the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th position. Jason Hart trying to take advantage there of what was going on ahead. That looks to me as though, yeah, Riley have gone through into a podium spot with the GR Supra. TCR lead back down at the hairpin, at the Andretti hairpin at the start of the lap. And those two have pulled away just a little bit from the Van der Steur Tyler Gonzalez car. Oh, 61's been given a penalty from the lead. I understand why it's been called, but Wiggins wasn't called earlier on for an incident that had a far bigger effect on the car that he hit. There's going to be some chat about that with 6 minutes to go. And that is a victory that has gone begging there for the Roadshagger racing car, and that will leave the Alpha in the lead. Gonzalez trying to close up on those two. That'll put him into 2nd place, and it will be Parker Chase in 3rd. I understand why it's called, Jeremy. I absolutely do. In the defence of the leader, the door was left wide open.
Yeah.
By the number 2 car, as if he was letting him through, Ryan Norman, and then at the last minute he cut across.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, and I'd like to see that one again. I'm surprised that Race Control made that call so quickly, quite frankly, because he's a lap down. Why would we? I mean, he was a long way ahead going into the braking zone, and the 2 cars that were battling for the lead in the class, they maintained position according to, relative to each other.
Yep.
It was number 2 car that slowed down, and as you say, they just cut right across the nose of number 61. So I think they'll be arguing that case as long as they possibly can, and try and get away, possibly get away with it, because it looked like a very strange incident for number 2 car to be turning into the corner at that point.
If anything, the 61 was disadvantaged and lost a bit of ground to the Alpha behind it. I know you shouldn't look at the outcome, but that number 2 car continued. It wasn't disadvantaged. The leader potentially was. And earlier on, with the Hyundai into Sheena Monk was spun off the track, and that was considered a racing incident, and no action was taken. I think the fact that Ryan Norman stayed all the way to the right-hand side going into the hairpin might be mitigation, but that decision has been made. Drive-through penalty, and the team have queried that and asked Race Control for clarification. It's come back from Race Control. The drive-through has been upheld, and in comes John Morley, and there goes the race victory. Heartbreak for the 61. Well, traffic giveth, traffic taketh away. We've said that before. And one man's meat, etc., etc. That has left the number 5 Alpha in the lead. This is going to be a big drop of positions for Roadshagger. John just coming out the pits now. He's going to drop way back, possibly back down to the bottom end of the top 10 here. That'll be getting talked about later on. It really will. Trent Hinman, Volt Racing, 3 seconds to the good now. McAleer in 2nd, can't live with the pace of the Aston Martin. Here the wastegates of the turbo. Here the wastegates chattering on the turbo cars. Real hero drive for Stephen McAleer, who's been driving, suffering the effects of food poisoning. Didn't really want to talk about it too much earlier on. And the 09 Aston going slowly at the moment for Rob Eklund. The automatic racing Stoner car care car, letting a few cars go by. So Alpha leads TCR from 2 Hyundais, one from Van der Steur Racing, the older Veloster. Yeah, and my apologies, I've been seeing the Sheena Monk car earlier on. It was the Victor Gonzalez TCR Civic that Robert Wiggins turned around earlier on. Can't Remember who turned around the 877 earlier on. Let's go back and look at my notes at that, but I daren't take my eyes off the screen at the moment. I think it was the Porsche shares reminding me earlier on, the number 69 Absolute Racing. They got turned around themselves later on, down at turn 11, for which the 15 Audi did get a penalty. So just to follow up on that, the Roadshagger cars dropped down to 8th position in class. Couple of minutes to go, Jeremy. Trent Hinman, what a drive this has been from those guys. I think you've got to say Volt Racing have got the strategy absolutely right here. As the battles continue in TCR, that number 15 car with 2 drive-through penalties for incidents up into 3rd position and sandwiched by a couple of Hyundais there, but has managed to get through. Got through. Denita Pond got through into 3rd position. What a comeback drive that is after 2 incidents for which they were penalised.
That was mighty forceful, I can tell you that. He was leaning on everybody going through up the hill there towards the corkscrew. Looks like he's got away with it, perhaps unscathed. See whether the stewards have a look at it, see what they think about it, because that was a pretty bold move by Denny Dupont at that point. But there is a white flag now for the TCR leaders. Trent Hinman has already taken it in the Volt Racing Aston Martin.
Looks the gap at the front of the TCR. Lewis has got 2.7 seconds to the rest of the field. So Tim Lewis from Boca Raton in Florida, he is looking sharp at the moment, but at the front of the field, Volt Racing on a one-stop strategy have managed to make it work. Yes, the yellows fell for them, but they rolled the strategic dice and got the right numbers. The Wright Motorsports team running this car. The cheers go up on the pit wall, and it's a win for Volt Motorsport. Adam Brynjolfsson started, Trent Hinman finished, and it was a full team effort. Shea Adam is down with the team.
Lots of cheering and celebrating. I wasn't going to say anything until the car made it all the way up to the finish line, because of course we've seen cars stop just short of that before. And let's see who I can get to on their box. I see Johnny Wright, I see Alan Brynjolfsson. John, it's going to take a second to get in there. Give me a sec to get into the scrum.
Perfect timing though, Shea, as coming round to win in TCR. It's going to be the Alfa Giulietta that comes through. Tim Lewis for KMW Motorsport finishes off what Roy Block started. Great win for them, took the advantage with the penalty for the 61 car. Let's go back to Shea Adam, and then we'll give you the Michelin moments of the race. Down with our race winners now, Volt Racing.
Johnny Wright, 2 years in a row, victorious at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, this time in an Aston Martin with Trent and Alan. How does it feel?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, to see Alan win one of these things is awesome. Just emotional about it. It's good.
Congratulations, and also championship leaders coming off this one.
Wow, that's magnificent stuff. And right at the end, a change in position, running to the line for 2nd position in TCR. Looks to me as, for 3rd position, excuse me, I think Parker Chase, did he just get through? No, he didn't. Tyler Gonzalez is, oh, well, that's interesting. Let's see what the timing gets squared up at. In TCR, it's KMW from Bellegarde from Van der Ster Racing. In GS, it's Volt from RS1 from Riley Motorsport. What a run for the GR Supra. Our Michelin moments of the race. In TCR, it's Roadshagger Racing for their strategy that took them to the front of the field. The victory ultimately denied by that penalty, but that was great run for those guys. And at the GS category, our Michelin moment of the race on a one-stop strategy, again a strategic call, it'll be Volt Racing, the number 7 for the Aston Martin. Shea Adam is down in pit lane with more happy team members.
Lewis Malone, by my counts, the Alpha has now won 2 of 3 races this year. Did you ever think 2022 would be able to kick off like this?
I can't believe it, honestly. After our bad day at Sebring, we just went home and tore the car apart and started from scratch. And we really weren't quick in practice 1 or 2, but what a lot of our competitors probably don't realize is we weren't working on speed, we were working on tire wear. And tire wear was everything here.
Congratulations on the win, and very gracious of you to acknowledge right away. Wish Morley hadn't got the penalty. We think we could have raced him at the end.
Yeah, it would have been great to race him to the end. I think Tim had something for him, and but honestly, we would have taken a second if it came to him.
Well, you should be championship points leaders, so congrats for today.
Thank you, Shay.
They got their families here too, John. It's an extra special victory for the KMW team.
How classy is that from that team, Jeremy Short? They were hoping to win, but he said we'll take the second if it had been to those guys, because they did such a good job. They are a Michelin moment of the race winners in TCRs. That's the 61 Road Shagger car. They finished in 8th position, but you've got to say, Jeremy, that was a superb team effort by Volt Racing to take the overall and GS victory.
Yeah, it really was a tremendous drive there. A really good first stint there by Alan Brynjolfsson and Trent Hinman. Well, he's a superstar, isn't he, Trent Hinman? I think he's just a really understated character, but he drives his heart out, and it was a great performance under pressure for most of the way, and great strategy from John Wright's team there, and he pulls it off. That's the 10th win in this championship for the 2014 GS champion Trent Hinman, and the 3rd win for Alan Brynjolfsson. By the way, in TCR, John, that battle we saw coming to the line, that was for 2nd place. That was Denny Dupont finding a ridiculous amount of acceleration off the final corner to nip past Tyler Gonzalez on the run to the flag.
Right.
That was rather interesting to see. I mean, that car was incredibly quick.
Hit the afterburners there, didn't he?
By that number 15, yeah, it really was. But number 15 team has done a tremendous effort. I mean, that's a small family-run operation there by the Rockwells, and hats off to them for coming. There's some forceful driving by Denny Dupont, but Eric did a nice job. Eric Rockwell did a super job in the first stint, and Denny Dupont there made some bold passes at the end, and then with that run to the line, 2nd position, by far the best finishing position for that Bellegarde and Technical Racing Rockwell Automotive Developments team.
And remember, that car had 2 drive-throughs for incident responsibility and fought their way back from that
it's not
as well.
Going to be on the run possibility, John. There'll be another one coming up as well.
I'm not sure that was looked at, to be honest, but I'm not getting all the information on the race control screen here in the booth, but we'll keep an eye on that. What a good win for Alfa Romeo and that fan favourite Alfa Giulietta. It's not the obvious choice. Let's give you, but it's quick, isn't it? And it's got a bit of character, and that's what we like. Unofficial results then, subject to post-race tech. It'll be Volt Racing on the top step of the podium. They win in the end by 2.5 seconds. What a drive by RS1, particularly Stephen McAleer, who's not very well. So it's Aston from Porsche, from Riley Motorsports, GR Supra in 3rd position. Turner Motorsport in 4th with the 96 car. Then Nola Sport in 5th position, and Murillo Racing in 6th and 7th position ahead of PF and BGB, who had the fastest lap of the race with the number 83 car, and McCann Racing round off the top 10 in GS. In TCR, late victory with that penalty for the 61 car for contact with a lapped car down at the Andretti hairpin. So KMW win it for Alfa from Bellegarde and Technical Motorsport. What a run to 2nd position there. Van der Steur Racing will stand on the box in 3rd. Brian Herder Autosport in 4th and 5th with respectively the 98 and the number 1 teams. Then it was the number 54 car rounding up the top 6. That was a good run as well for Michael Johnson and Stephen Simpson. Then the 77 Brian Herter Hyundai, and in 8th position after that penalty, Road Shagger Racing. Top 10 made up by Brian Herter's number 33 Hyundai, and in 10th position the number 2. That's another Brian Herter Autosport with Curban and JD car, the AJ Muss and Ryan Norman car. Sum that one up, Jeremy, in a sentence or two.
Yeah, boy, there was a lot of action there, wasn't there, in that 2 hours? In championship points, very, very briefly, in the GS, we've already talked about, they came in here joint championship leaders. Brynjolfsson and Hidman will have 910 points to the 820 of Stephen McAleer. Third position, Alfredo Nadri in a Riley Toyota on 780 in TCR. The Taylor Hagler and Michael Lewis will hold on to their lead, I reckon, on 900 points to the 870 for Roy Block and Team Lewis, today's winner in the Alpha, John.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Shea. Excellent work. There'll be a lot of talk after that, I'm sure. Plenty of accident, incident and controversy for this round of the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Been absolutely brilliant stuff. Thank you to all the teams for working with us, and we'll be back tomorrow for 2 more races, Lamborghini and Porsche, and of course the big one, the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship race tomorrow afternoon. We'll congratulate Volt Racing and KMW Motorsport on behalf of Jeremy Shea and all of our technical team at the track and beyond. I'm John Hindhaugh. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday afternoon or evening, wherever you are watching and listening. Join us tomorrow for more.